speaking of things made by a man,
things that are man-made. Continue.
F3 socks
Ah,
are, as far as I know,
yes,
are man-made. I understand them to have been fabricated per order with great care
by human beings.
But with great care.
Yes.
To produce the finest sock ever known in the history of socks. Never has there been a better sock.
I mean, a person could, as you often say, reasonable minds could differ.
Sure.
However, in the opinion of this podcast, life's too short to wear crappy socks, so you should wear MudGear socks.
We won't wear non-F3 socks, nor will we tolerate those who don't.
Whew. I had to check my feet. I'm
Make
good.
sure I'm wearing them today.
It's a MudGear day.
MudGear day.
Every day.
Every day. The only thing that MudGear does not make in the way of socks that I think, I don't know if it would be a winner or not, but I tell you this, they don't make them, and if they could, and if they did, I would wear them, and that is MudGear dress socks.
You would wear them?
I would wear a MudGear dress sock.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But as of yet, we don't have a dress sock. Now, a man could wear a MudGear sock as a dress sock, but it would not fit neatly into the category of dress sock.
Although I did the other day. I went to court in Mecklenburg County Superior Court wearing F3 rucking socks with my suit, with dress shoes on, and I had one of the best days in court I've ever had. I mean,
justice rained down from heaven like manna.
I'm not a great lawyer. I'm a good lawyer, but this particular day, people stood back and said,
something's different.
What? You're like Perry Mason. What's going on? And I said, it's the F3 socks. That's the only difference. They've made me smarter, more articulate, and more caring. If you're going to be a winner, you're going to need a coach.
Sharpening doesn't happen by accident. A blade left untouched will rust, and a man left unchallenged will stagnate. Every man needs friction, resistance, and a whetstone to grind away weakness and reveal his true edge. Welcome to the Whetstone, where we reject comfort, disrupt the status quo, and forge men ready for impact. Hosted by Dredd, Dark Helmet, and me, the Plague. This is where men step out of the drift and into acceleration, because iron sharpens iron, and no man sharpens alone.
Yeah. More caring.
And we're back.
And we're back.
We're back. Okay. That was a lot of fun. Speaking of being back, darkness.
Yes, sir.
I returned from being in the land of the Utah Indian. Taken over by Brigham Young and hordes of FCAMs 125 years ago.
First of all, we didn't take over. It was very amenable. Actually, we got along pretty well with Indians, but go on.
I've seen reports to the contrary. So I got to tell you, and I was saying this on the bus on the way back from Alta down to Salt Lake City. You come down the mountain. I don't know if you've ever done this, but you're coming
I've never been
down,
to Alta, but yeah.
Yeah, you can just see the valley.
Oh, it's
Salt Lake Valley
amazing
below you, surrounded by mountains. And I said to the bus driver, who I just assumed to be FCAM, I said, listen, I know why your man chose this place to stop, because this is God's country. And he goes, I'm a Baptist. I was like, oh. Well, I'm talking about
Wrong
Brigham.
man.
I know why Brigham stopped right here.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a good
this
spot.
place is, it really, truly, all kidding aside.
No, it's
beautiful.
It is amazing. Yeah.
It is amazing.
It was F3 ski,
the main
right?
reason
Is where you were at?
It was F3 ski.
F3 ski, 40, we have two rotations. I was in rotation 1. With some Baxter Villagites, like F3's Italian job.
Italian job. Yeah.
Who I called the job.
The job.
And also former Baxter Village denizen Santini.
Yeah. Oh, was he there? Oh, good.
Yeah, he was there.
Good. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was good. Had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's excellent.
Yeah. We took over this ski resort, and by the end of the week, as it usually is, they were saying, who are you guys and why won't you leave?
Come again when you can't stay so long.
And it's like I had 47 different instances of saying it's not a cult, but that's fine.
And they're like, you sure?
Sure.
You sure?
You sure?
Because it feels cult.
Yeah, I'm sure. If we're a cult, we're a bad cult. Not
Right.
very effective.
Worst one yet.
Worst one yet.
Yeah.
People are allowed to think for themselves.
Right? We
Yeah.
hand off leadership.
Yeah.
No one's gotten rich.
Right.
I've slept with no one's wife except
No,
my
I've
own.
had no
It's
sex with
terrible.
no one's wife. I mean, it's not like Hotel California. You can check out and leave. So
That's right. I know. Like we have just failed. We are a failed cult.
Really
It's
bad
terrible.
it's a failed cult.
Oh, I said this came out the other day of my mouth, and not surprising. But somebody was like, because you just talking about FCAM, and it made me think of like this whole like Mormons aren't Christians thing, and these guys that are all hopped up on that or whatever. And somebody goes to me, they go, they didn't say it in these exact words. It was something along the lines of basically like if you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you're not a very good Christian. And they were talking about atheists and different things. And I said, well, I'm even worse atheist.
Yeah.
Like
right.
I'm even worse at that.
You're worse than an atheist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly your theology is flawed, but
But
that's a different podcast. And
I,
essentially they were saying like at least the atheists, stick to their gun or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm even worse at that. Like
the problem with the atheists is they're so bent on not believing in something that in order to not believe in, you kind of have to believe in to begin with. And that's just too much of a swirl.
Like one of my kids asked me what was the difference between an atheist and FCAM, and I said,
oh, here we go. This ought to be good.
No, I said,
oh,
atheists don't believe in anything, but FCAMs believe in extra stuff. And I said, that can't be all bad. Extra stuff.
Extra stuff.
I love it.
I'll take it.
Well, so our last episode I thought was really good. Helmet and I, of course, we missed you, Dredd, but we kind of started getting into some of the Zebra Jockey content. And I think we're still, as I'm watching along in the F3 Nation Slack, I just love continuing to see the chatter from guys about LDP and like how do we get that going and what does that look like. And I think there's a lot there, but locally, it's funny, we had a Q source discussion earlier this week, and it was on Mammon, and it was really helpful for me because it was a good reminder that I'm not the only one that still gets confused about identity and purpose versus talents and mission and all of that sort of stuff. So I think I think my big takeaway is just like keep talking about that with your brothers and learning from each other, sort of how you define that. Because we had some good conversation that there are some guys where their Mammon, the thing they do to make money, is also their D2X and the thing they're passionate about. It's maybe it's certainly not everyone, and so but yeah, I don't know. Have you guys solved the mystery yet between how all those things relate? Or
well, I mean, Dredd and I have, but I can't help it if you guys can't catch up. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Right? You're just 43 feet ahead all the time.
Yeah, like all the time. That's
that's I tend to think of Mammon and D2X in the same way I think of status and essence, right? So I don't think I would really be different if I was a nurse, to pick your Mammon, Plagu, or at least your training, not really your Mammon, but let's say I was a nurse, right? I think I still would have the same D2X.
That's what I was going to say is sometimes they bump into each other. Like it may be that your D2X is something that could be monetized and you happen to work in that field, right? That is possible.
Right.
But my D2X is what I do every day, all day, period.
And
sometimes it applies in this Mammon environment, but I can't stop doing it. Like I'm not going to stop doing it. Like it wouldn't matter if I was at Mammon or not. Like, so you could say, well, you don't get paid to do it. Well, I get paid to show up and do what I do. I'll give you an example since we're on the topic, right? I was off work yesterday right? I had something else to do. So I didn't go to work, which means I wasn't on the Slack. I wasn't doing my normal chirping and all this kind of stuff, right? And someone posted in there, because we have a channel that I started in there because I got tired of us never recognizing one another and celebrating wins and all this kind of stuff, because I think it's positive, it's good environment, good energy going, that kind of thing, right? So I made this thing. I've been, trying to get people excited and get them moving and galvanized behind kind of this, this idea, right? Anyway, one of the things that I can't not do, and this is going to sound like I'm bragging, and candidly, maybe I am a tiny bit, right? So I'll, just recognize that's where it's come from. But like, I can't not do these things. So there was a sales rep. This is clearly not I'm not in sales. I don't do anything with sales. That has nothing to do with my job description whatsoever. I mean, nothing, right? But there's a sales rep, and I would watch her all the time, like posting in Slack and trying to be like, man, I'm trying to do this. And I couldn't do that. And I'm watching her get coaching and all this kind of stuff. Right. And I finally just reached out and I said, hey, give me 5 minutes. Right. And so I reach out to her, we get on a Zoom call, and I was like, look, what is blocking your brain up? Like, what is the problem here? Right. And she goes, well, this, I don't think, and I said, look, here's the problem. And so we go through the whole thing. Ultimately, what I told her is you're trying to apply a system that feels unnatural to you. And then I helped her figure out how to use her natural style, her natural abilities, her natural way of being, and apply it to this. And then suddenly, so while I'm off yesterday, she didn't know I was off. She posted in the Slack, and it was like, hey, I just wanted to thank Frank. He gave me this coaching, and I've closed now in the last 5 days, twice as many deals as I have in the last 5 months. Right. And I was like, I don't think I did it, but okay, if you think it helped you and it helped you, that's awesome. But I wasn't there. So my boss's boss, I don't know who it was. Anyway, one of our C-level guys was like, at first he was like, cause he picks on me all the time. Like he was joking. But then he wrote this really nice thing. And basically it was, I'm not surprised by this, but I am like, that was so far off of an expectation that I would have had of something that you would have done, that Frank would have done, because these people, and I mean, I didn't look at the Slack at all yesterday, so I had no idea until I walked in this morning, sat down on my computer and pop it up, and I'm like, oh, look at all that, isn't that nice? How about that, right? But they go, it was all day, like they're all, but my point in saying that is to say, what's my D2X? To help people overcome self-limiting beliefs, right, so they can be maximally effective. I didn't think about it. I just knew this gal I could see it. She's clogged, right? So I just go do it, go help, because I can't not do that. And then what turns out, like what comes out the other end is, yeah, work just happened to be the place that I did that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I love it. And I think that's, I think ultimately it's interesting, right? Because I think the other piece that comes up is identity. And we talked about like, it can be very dangerous if a man puts his identity in a title or a position or a job, and because those things, as the Mammon sort of Q source topic calls out, is like that those things can be gone quickly. But figuring out what is it that you're good at, and then applying that, and I think that's like, for me, if I just thought, if my identity was healthcare IT guy, then I lost this job someday, and I only thought I could do healthcare IT, that I think that's becomes challenging. But it was really good. And I think it's just, as I love about, as regions are thinking about developing leaders, like just, we've talked about it on here, just start fostering those conversations with men to like talk about some of these things. And if it's, if you're not doing Q source discussions or whatever, that's a good place to start. It's been really effective for us locally. But, I think the other piece of this is we're looking at Zebra Jockey. Dredd, I had kind of had Helmet just go through what that means to him and kind of his favorite pieces of that. But wanted to kind of dive in. I know you guys have previously done some shows on the Zebra Jockey content, but just this idea of, whatever comes out of that barn, if it's going to take you where you need to go, hop on. And, I don't know if you would talk us through like sort of where that came up in terms of the content and why that's important for men.
Well, I think it's a philosophy would be maybe that's giving it too much value, but maybe a way of looking at things. I guess that's what philosophy is. So for some reason, I never
I was just going to say, like, I don't know. Tease that out for me.
Yeah,
it's like it's not necessarily a philosophy. It's just sort of like the love of knowledge. It's more like
you mean
that.
I don't mean so much as tall, but I just mean your head's far from the ground. No, yeah, you're right. It's about the same thing. So I guess like I don't like to admit to being a philosopher.
A philosopher king. You don't.
It just sounds wrong. But if it's a way of trying to make sense and order of what you see around you and your place in it, then I suppose that's what it is. But the idea kind of germinated in my mind really very early on in my life, which is the recognition I don't really have control over anything. When I was very young in college, I started to think that way. And that I was more comfortable with the idea that that's the way the world really was, that I shouldn't have any expectations of being able to make choices and have outcomes that I wanted, because then I would always be disappointed. And I would also be trying to force something that maybe wasn't there, So I read in some book when I was young, it was a novel, and I wish I could remember the novel, but the character in it was a stoic of sorts, I suppose. And he didn't make decisions based on virtue or religious morality. He simply said, when I got to a crossroad and I had choice A and choice B, and neither was clearly the better or the worse one, I just took the one that would be more onerous, the more difficult path, whatever it was. And that I found, this is the character, over time, that I was never disappointed in the outcome, right? The harder path was always the better path. So I adopted that as a philosophy as a young pre-Christian man, that I shouldn't try to take the choices that I thought would best for me or felt best or were easier, but whatever seemed more difficult. And so I did that. And I did that for a long time. I think I still maybe do it a little bit. But because of that, I began to realize that I actually liked this sense of chaos, that of uncontrollable circumstance. Like not only was I not uncomfortable with it, I kind of liked it, to the point where I think I'm a little bit of a jockey. I mean, a junkie, chaos junkie.
Yeah.
Right. Like when a storm is coming in, you say like last week, I get a little excited by it. It's going to be a pain in the neck, right? People are going to be losing their head over it. I don't know why. I
understand.
Right?
Yeah.
And so because, we had this whole travel thing, we're sitting in Utah, and my wife happened to be in New York, and, her flight gets canceled and all this stuff. So a guy comes up to me. It was actually an Italian job. And he said, I guess we're going to have to be flow travelers. And that is a chapter in the Zebra Jockey. And I talk about being a young soldier, and we were in Africa, and we got to Africa in a cargo plane, in a C-130, and we had to stop in the Azores, and took it's a prop plane. It took forever to get there from Fort Bragg, and it was very uncomfortable. And, we finally got there, whatever, did our mission. 6 weeks later, we're waiting to get out, and I'm sitting on the airfield in Dakar in Senegal, and got all our stuff packed and ready to go. And this is before cell phones. So embassy guy walks out and says, they just canceled your airplane. And I said, wow, what the hell? How are we supposed to get out? Freaking Air Force, blah, blah, blah. And the guy says, look, I don't know. I'll be back out here and tell you whatever. So I'd sit down, I'm like, man. And my team sergeant is just kind of kicked back, and he says, why are you worried about that? And I said, well, we got to get back. And he said, can't do anything about it. Besides, we can just kick back. Nobody's watching us. We can sleep. We can do whatever we want for 8 hours, whatever it is. The weather was nice. We're sitting on the airfield in Africa. It's February, but it's warm. And I realized, yeah, that's true. So laid back, just sat back there. Maybe 6 hours later, embassy guy comes back out, and he says, all right, we got you an airplane. And And I said, oh, C-130? He goes, no, it's a C-5, which is the biggest plane the Army has, or the Air Force has. And not only that, it's got airport seats, they give you real food. It's a wholly different thing. And instead of taking 18 hours and stopping in the Azores, and sitting on webs and a thing you can't hear, we're sitting basically in an airplane.
Like a nice.
And we got home in like 7 hours. We actually got home sooner than we would have, in much more comfort. And when the whole thing's over, my team sergeant says, see, that's what you get when you go with the flow. Yeah. And I thought, be a flow traveler, right? Because these things that are outside your control will ultimately turn out okay or not, despite what you do about it. Yeah. I mean, you can try to control the situation and do all these things, but, that's being an edge traveler, So we're sitting in Utah and guys are trying to figure this out. Guys like, I got to be back. I actually had a trial on Monday. So, Sunday, I would really like to be back here. However, it's outside of my control, right? Mm-hmm. Aircraft gets canceled. A couple of guys are worried. Guys are buying extra tickets to try to go to Dallas first guys are doing all this stuff. And I just said, okay, so Rob, man, we'll get back there when we get back there. Ultimately, they pushed our plane back. We got back maybe 20 minutes after we were originally scheduled to be there. Snow cancels court on Monday. So I didn't have a trial anyway. And that just reinforced to me this idea that uncontrolled circumstances are a condition, not a problem. They're always going to be the prevailing condition because by its very nature, life can't be controlled. Mm-hmm. And you can either flow with that and try to make the best of what happens, right?
Throw yourself against the rock.
You're waiting on a horse, but a zebra comes out, ride that. Yeah. Right? Get you to the same place. Or, always trying to be an asset to help things be the way they could be, rather than a controller who tries to make things be the way they should be.
Yeah. The way they think they should be.
They think they should be. Yeah. So the difference between those things means as an adapter, you are adapting to chaos to help things be the way they could be. A controller is using force to try to make things the way they think they should be. And so that's the basic philosophy of the Zebra Jockey. The Zebra Jockey is an adapter.
Nice.
And at the other end of the spectrum is the controller. The guy who buys 5 airline tickets, the guy who tries to work out every little thing and get the advantage every single time. And in the process, drives everyone around him nuts. And the plane lands in Charlotte, and I'm sitting in like row 12, I think. And it's not even landed yet, or it's not even stopped yet, rather. And some dude is like edging up, trying to get, I'm like, man, we're all going to get where we need to get whenever we need to get there. And you being 10 seconds or 10 feet ahead of, it's not going to do you any good. I think it was iJob who said that to me.
I'm sure it is, because that sounds like something he would say.
It wasn't. Sorry.
Oh, no?
It was Holtz. F3 Holtz said that.
Okay.
And he wasn't even on the trip. We just ran into him in the airport in Salt Lake City. Uh-huh. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's the old flow traveler thing. I said, yep. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Exactly what it was. It was illustrative of the flow traveler, man. Go ahead, Frank.
No, but because I was going to say is, and if you sort of pop that out a level, if you will, because
lawyers say extrapolate.
Oh, fair. Extrapolate. If you extrapolate that just a little further, I'm not a lawyer. So if you pop that out a level, but it really kind of continues to come down to it. This is part of what I loved so much when we did this kind of, the first time a few years ago when we sort of went through this, is it really did change my my thinking and my view on some things, particularly with regard to like travel. Sure, fine. I always knew I was a little in that. I mean, I ain't like Dredd, let's be honest, right? But in a little of that kind of chaos junkie sort of, lean that way, if you will. right? But having it sort of laid out this way and articulated this way was like super helpful for me. And as I've grown and over the last few years and stuff too, and just as you change as a man and think about these things more and get a little more deep in some of this stuff, I think it continues to come back to that ultimate challenge that we talk about a lot, which is agency, right? Liberty and non-agency and control. And there really aren't, I mean, in the big scheme of things, and the book gets down there and talks about, statism and some of this kind of stuff, later on in goo and all that, right? That's really where it gets down to, whether it's in governance, whether it's in your personal life, it doesn't really matter. If you believe that you have a better way and that you are smarter than everybody else, it's just like in F3, right? What do we say faith is? What do we say faith is, Plague?
A belief in something bigger than yourself.
Right. You just can't think you're the king of the world. And a guy who believes that he's the king of the world, or that his way is better, or that he's smarter than somebody, is almost always going to seek to pull that to himself and say, and he'll thrash on the earth. No, I know. I am smarter. I am better. We will do it my way. And then on the other end of that is the guy like Dredd's talking about, and like I think we all aspire to be, and I try to be, and I know Dredd, we all try to be this way, right? Which is, hey man, I recognize now that I'm mature enough now, I guess, to say, not only do I not have control, I don't even actually want it anymore. Like, it's not interesting to me to have control. What's interesting to me is to be of service, right? To be an asset, to be maximally effective. Like, that's interesting. But it's not interesting to me to have control, because every time I try to be controlling, it always, it never goes well, right? I'll tell you something. This hit me this morning, and I know that it's a thought that I guess had been brewing, because this happens to me every once in a while, where like a little something will come up and I'll be like, I've never thought of it that way before. And for me, I tend to point and go, I think that's kind of a, God touching and going, remember that's going to be important, right? Or that's, I'm telling you something here. I was talking to a buddy this morning, and he's been having trouble in his marriage, and he's just struggling, and we talked about it for a long, long time, and it's been a long time. And I finally had the courage a few, maybe, I don't know, 6-8 months ago to say, look, man, nothing in your life's going to get better until you let God in more. But it hit me this morning, and I said, you know something? It just occurred to me. You have conflated submission with quitting.
Mm.
And you think to yourself, I'm not a quitter. I won't quit. I'll never quit. And I'm like, no, but there's a difference, right, between quitting and submission. And you conflating those two things, you also won't submit. And in your non-submission posture that you have, you continue to make more problems for yourself. I didn't love hearing that, but that's what I think was happening, right? Because there was this element of, I must control it. I can't possibly flow. Because if flow happens, then someone else is going to dictate to me what happens, and nobody does that. I'm in control. I'm my own. What is it? I'm my own captain, or I'm the captain of my own ship, or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's
we talk about. Yeah,
I'm the captain.
That's and it's attractive to think that way, but it is related to faith in the sense of, you can stop where we stop with the idea of uncontrollable circumstance, or you can say that chaos is actually subject to a design, the logic of which is past our human mind to comprehend. So that's the next step of it, is to say,
it just looks like chaos from where I'm sitting.
It looks like chaos to me.
Yeah.
But it's subject to a creator who is big enough and knowing enough to plot out every single thing for the good of those who love him, who are obedient to him. So if I say, okay, look, I don't really understand how this has happened to me when I came back at Christmas, say the third day of January through really yesterday, actually, my schedule was all overlapped outside of my control. And I had multiple different court appearances, multiple different trials, multiple different things that I was obligated to do. And there really was no possible way all of it could happen. And I just said, well, the Lord has scheduled it, so I guess it's going to happen how he says it's going to happen. Now, one by one of these things would drop or move, or somebody would cancel, or the weather, we had 2 snow days, 2 different weeks. The snow days we had, I absolutely had to have them.
Mhm.
And there they were, I didn't really worry about it. I just said, okay, this what I see is chaos and something I can't accomplish through my own 2 hands is actually subject to a design and a logic. And I don't need to think I can accomplish it, because if you want it to be accomplished, it will be done. And, it was.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time that this has happened to me, that I've had a period like
Probably
that.
happens a fair amount.
It happens a fair amount. And, I wanted to cancel F3 ski. I almost did for myself. But it's one of the only really vacations I have on a yearly basis where just by my, not with my family, where I just go and, do that. And I said, I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to trust that it can happen.
Mhm.
And it did, which is often the case. So what being an adapter helps you do is to surrender not only control over your environment, but control over your very life. You say, as long as I live according to principles set out, I don't have to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. Whatever's going to happen tomorrow is going to happen. I just need to concern myself with doing right today. Now, that includes preparing for tomorrow, obviously. You don't just say, no, I got to go to court tomorrow.
But if tomorrow didn't come, you still would have prepared.
Right,
Yeah.
that's right. But what it does mean is not trying to get to the edge of everything constantly.
Yeah.
And that's a much easier way to live your life if you think about it. The way that kind of dovetails into the political spectrum is, if whatever policy prescription you subscribe to, if it happens to have the word control in it, guess what you are? Right?
Right.
If it happens, if whatever, if whatever solution you subscribe to a problem you've identified, if it has the word control in it, you might be a controller. You might be. So if you view homicide, murder, mayhem inflicted with a firearm as the problem, and your solution is gun control, you might be a controller. If you view
is the Jeff Foxworthy,
right?
If you might, if you think you might,
if you view rising prices, particularly rent, to be the problem, and your solution is rent control,
you might be a controller.
You might be,
might be a controller. If you view the birth of a child at a time that might be inopportune for its parents to be a problem, and birth control is your solution, you might be a controller. So all these things that have the word control over in them, they don't get any better if you prefix them with common sense. Gun control is no better if you call it common sense gun control. It's still control. And there's no amount of adjectives or prefixes you can affix to the word that ends with control that makes you an adapter. Right?
Well, it makes you feel better about your non-adapting status.
So to the person who says, oh, well, Dredd, so your solution is to just let chaos reign. And I say, I think I've finally gotten through to you. Yes, indeed.
But what about anarchy?
Indeed, that is what I'm saying.
You want anarchy.
Right. I love the conversation, and to me, so what I had conversation earlier this week about similar, like, we can't forget that God is in control of even the things that we think are small, and I think for me,
I'm gonna actually
do I
stop you there.
do I think I'm bringing God into my plans, or am I like going to him asking to be a part of the work he's doing? And I think it's easy to sort of flip that and think like, well, I'm going to pray to God and see if he'll bless this idea I have, instead of like,
Yeah.
show me
That's
your
funny,
will.
because this buddy of mine, that was part of the conversation that we had this morning. She's like, well, I pray all the time. And I said, I get a funny feeling you pray that the things that you want to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Not that God's will be done. And he was like, don't like that. I'm gonna push just a little on what you said, Plague, and you said that God is in control. And I'm gonna say he could be if he wanted to be.
Sure.
He's not going to, because he respects your agency and he
Of
gave
the
it to you and
outcome,
he wants you to
maybe?
use it. I think he allows things to happen, right? You can always choose the other way, and he will allow that to happen too, right? If he was in control of your life, then do you really have free will? Do you really have agency?
That sounds
really,
a lot like an argument for free will.
Yes, which I believe in.
Right.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And why is the abandonment, so free will is a way to put it in theological terms. Agency is a way to put it in non-theological terms. In other words, we have agency, meaning we have the liberty to act in our own self-interest.
That's interesting, because in we talk about it as agency in FCAM. So that's why I use that term. I didn't really think about it as a secular, non-secular, but that's the way we refer to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, agency also implies that it's actions done on behalf of a disclosed principle. So you can't really have agency without a principle, right? The principle, agent acts in furtherance of the best interest of the principle. So, but we are granted this agency as being created beings in the likeness of God. So God provides us as his agents with certain sovereignty on earth. What he tells us to do is fill the earth, subdue it, and rule over the fish and the birds and all the creatures that crawl. Okay, he's granted us that agency. If you're a Judeo-Christian, this is what you believe, or you should believe.
Yeah.
Now, along with that agency and free will, because you get to it by freely and knowingly accepting some sort of higher power as being in control, you submit to that higher power. What goes along with that agency is responsibility. Now you must act responsibly, which means you are responsive to the principle. There are consequences for your failure to act. So that when we use this description, when we talk about meteorologist Jim is supposed to be Jim Cantori, right? Jim Cantori telling, not just reading the barometer, but telling you whether you should go outside.
Yeah.
Jim,
don't go outside.
You must stay home. Do not go out.
Jim, if you want to tell me what the weather's likely to be as you sit there in Nashua, New Hampshire, wherever you are, and you want to tell me what you think the weather's going to be like in Charlotte, I'll listen to that. But once you start telling me whether I should go outside or not, I'm going to have to say halt. That's going to be a me thing. I'll make that decision. And the response of meteorologist Jim is, well, yes, I advocate leaving an area that's in line with a storm. I say that, and I say you should be forced to leave at the point of a gun if you refuse, because if you stay and then you require rescue, you put the rescuers' lives at risk, and you shouldn't be allowed to do that. And I respond to Jim this way, and I say, how about if I tell you that I waive my right to be rescued? That if in the exercise of my agency, there's unwanted consequences, that I'll accept them. What if I say that, Jim? So if he says, well, no, we're going to rescue you whether you want to be or not, I say, I think you might be a controller.
Yeah, and I think the word
I think you might be a controller.
If you want to rescue me, whether I want rescue or not, you might be.
But it is such an interest, and I saw it throughout the last couple of weeks. Where meteorologists became traffic experts, don't know. So we're creeping into the expert part of the Zebra Jockey, but like this idea where the way you think things should be as a controller. A shortcut to enforcement of that is to designate yourself an expert in things that are not subject to expertise. So at a
Then
strict
I can make
level,
my argument from authority.
right, from an evidentiary standpoint,
Mhm.
the only people that can testify outside of their own cognizance, like what they saw, heard, whatever, are experts. And they deliver opinions based not on what they experienced, but based on what their knowledge and training and understanding is. So you bring a witness into a case and you say, sir, were you standing there when the accident happened? I was. What did you see? Well, I saw the light turn red, and then he ran a red light, and then there was accident. Okay, that's testimony. You bring an expert. Sir, were you there when the accident happened? Oh, no, I wasn't. Well, what's your opinion? My opinion is that he should have stopped sooner. Were you watching? No. What do you base that on? See, I'm an expert on skid marks.
Break distances. Yeah.
Right. Right. So you designate yourself an expert, then you can skip over the fact that you're not there and tell people your opinion as to what they should do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'll look outside for myself, Jim. Thanks for telling me that it might snow. Thanks for telling me how icy the roads are. But I don't need a meteorologist to tell me whether or not I should drive. I'll have to make that decision.
Yeah.
And, well, you're putting other people at risk. And I'm like, again, I will make that decision, not a meteorologist from New Hampshire, because I live in Charlotte and you ain't here. So, sorry, not going to take your advice. Plus, the fact that you're an expert in how to read the barometer and the Doppler or whatever, I'm not decrying that. I don't know how to do that. But you ain't an expert on driving.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not an expert at driving.
And you know nothing of my skill level.
Right.
You know nothing of my risk assessment. You know nothing.
So as we would say as lawyers, the foundations for your opinion about the conditions of the road are not sufficient for the layman to take heed to your opinion. And I sustain the objection to you expressing it. Zip it.
I'm sure you say zip it a lot in court.
Right. Going back to Fauci. It's funny.
You got him on one now, Plague, because here comes.
Well, I do at some point want to go back to the basic definition.
Well, this is where the idea where I started to write it.
Yeah.
Because I was getting into
this is good.
I was getting into these debates with guys I really liked. And, when COVID first came out. And and one guy was Checkpoint. Because, Checkpoint is not afraid of things, whatever. He's just like, we're having these debates out in front of, with people, and he's like, well, we should listen to Dr. Fauci. And I said, why? Well, he's an expert on diseases. And I said, okay. I said, but what else do we know about him? He said, for instance, what? I said, what might his biases be? Isn't it possible that his opinions as an expert in disease spreading or whatever might be tainted by biases that he holds? In fact, that is what we do in court when an expert is tendered. We explore his qualifications to make sure that whatever he's going to say is based on a recognized scientific or technical thing that he might know. And then we are allowed on cross-examination to say, sir, I have some questions about the foundations for your opinion, including what biases you might hold. Might you be profiting financially from the outcome, for instance, is a common one, right? Might there be actual reasons?
Well, that's never happened.
Right. Outside of purely you rendering the opinion that someone should know. Now, when you offer an expert in direct testimony, you have him expose his biases up front so that you can say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to pretend this guy isn't being paid for what he's getting paid to deliver opinions.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that he doesn't already feel this way about certain things. He does. He's written about it.
Yeah.
However, taking those into consideration as he has, there is still an adequate foundation for him to express his opinion, and you should take heed. For whatever reason, we weren't willing to do that with these guys. It was like, oh, well, Fauci says this, or what was the chick with the scarf?
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember her name.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And, I think it was a pretty good piece of impeachment to be able to say when Fauci said everyone must wear a mask, to point out that 3 weeks before that, he said no one should.
Yeah.
That's what we call prior inconsistent statement, right? And it affects your not only your character and your reputation for veracity, might means you're less than truthful, but it also would allow someone to question how strongly you feel about this, as well as a picture of you at a Mets game with the mask off, which we had that. So my question is to Dr. Fauci, and I slide that picture over to him, and I'd say, isn't this a picture of you at a Mets game in May of 2020? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Right. And that is when you were simultaneously advising people to wear a mask wherever you went.
And then his answer would be, well. Yeah.
Well, see,
as soon as when a guy starts a sentence like that, tough.
Here, we just, for whatever reason, abandoned, and everything I'm saying to you, I'm trying to keep it pretty basic. But this is actually how I talk in court, the same exact way. This is actually common sense, isn't it? I mean, it's built upon evidentiary rules, but these rules aren't arbitrary and made up. They go all the way back to really Christ before the Sanhedrin. I mean, there's just basic notions of fair play and substantial justice, and whose testimony you should take as credible and who you shouldn't, and to be able to be cross-examined, to cross-examine your accusers. These are just basic things that I want to cross-examine Dr. Fauci to explore the foundations of his opinions and to find out whether they're competent. And simultaneously, 2/3 of this country, if not more, just said, the heck with it. I don't care.
Oh, yeah. Probably more.
They abandoned their agency and their responsibilities, as far as I'm concerned, as a father. If you're saying, Dr. Fauci, I should stick my kid with this experimental vaccine that we have said suddenly is a better prophylactic disease than someone's own immune system, when I'm fairly certain I can prove to you that up until this very moment, it's always been the catching and survival of the actual disease itself that is the most effective prophylactic. But now, oh no, now it's not natural immunity born of having caught it and survived it. That's the best prophylactic, but being shot up with something that rearranges your DNA in some weird, fluky way. That's better? That's not what you used to say.
Can you tell he's fired up? Can you tell he's fired up playing?
Am I? I don't think I really am.
You're fine. No.
I'm really not fired up. I was really mystified by smart, competent men who suddenly abandoned their agency and stopped asking the most logical questions on earth, starting with, number one, who the heck is this guy? And number two, why the hell should we believe him?
And that really is kind of, I mean, to your kind of what you were asking before, Plague, and I didn't mean fired up like you were angry. I just meant like clear, you're excited about this. Like this is, and here we are,
mystifying to me.
Yeah,
it still is.
But to kind of, if you bring it around, I mean, this is what you just saw. We just heard is at the essence of the Zebra Jockey philosophy, the essence of what what we would say is, as a man, right? As a person on earth, right? A man who is here, and the role that a man is supposed to have, the way that a man is supposed to act, the way that a man is supposed to lead, the way, and not that we think, that's not our opinion, right? The way that we believe that it has been ordained, right, for him to be. You cannot you cannot nestle up to meteorologist Jim for answers. You can't, totally just offload your responsibility and abdicate what you're supposed to be doing to an expert, to someone who may have a subversive interest, that you're unaware of, right? You cannot do that. It is counterproductive to you becoming and having your family and leading your community in the way that will be most efficacious to them, not to you, right? But to them, that you're helping them. Does that make sense? I mean, would you say that's kind of the with everything you just said there, Dredd? Like that's kind of is that sort of the underpinning in a way?
It is, and it's not just that it's not right to abandon your agency. It's that you have no right to abandon your agency. It's past that. So I get it how we all want to be comfortably numb. Just drift off into a land, right? Where, someone else is making our decisions and we don't feel the pain. I get it. That's probably addiction is part of that, right? Like the idea, I can't stand what I feel. It's too much. So I'll just feel nothing.
Just want to be numb. Yeah. Just
numb, right?
Yeah. Yep.
My hand felt like 2 balloons, not Geddy Lee.
Right. So I was just
not Geddy Lee.
Your lips move, but I can't hear what you're saying.
My lips move. Your lips move, but I can't hear what you say. I have become. Of course, that's actually a feeling that's a surrender to a different.
Wrong kind of surrender.
Sovereign.
Yeah,
it's surrender to a different sovereign, and it's saying I no longer am willing to stay out beyond the wire and keep fighting the fight. I can't do it anymore. I will abandon my agency. I'll turn it back in. Pull my penis off, hand it back in, and have with me and my loved ones as you will.
Yeah.
I will subordinate myself to your policy prescriptions, and proscriptions, and live my life your way because you say so.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just too hard to do it the other way.
It was too hard. And I say, no, I will be somebody who takes responsibility for the outcome and the consequences because I am that somebody.
Yeah.
For my family,
right.
For my community, and for the nation. And I will continue to do that because not just because it's not right not to, because I have no right not to.
Yeah.
Once we lose that, and we're on the road to losing it, and I like to think that F3 is pushing back on that.
While there's breath in these lungs, we are.
Right. Once guys say the default position as to whether or not we're going to work out in Omaha today, at the Crucible or the Flycatcher or whatever we're calling it, once we say we're not going to, the default is there'll be no Crucible in Omaha today unless the Nantan says we can. When that becomes the default, instead of there's a workout at the Crucible today because there's a workout at the Crucible today. Mm-hmm. Once we go down that path, we're lost.
Yeah.
Once guys stop leading from the ground that they're on, as a nation, we're lost.
And so to take everything that Dredd was saying, and this is because we have every time it snows, lightning, whatever, every time guys say some stuff and it always gets me fired up and I always lose some friends or get guys mad at me or whatever. And they really get mad. Like this is an emotional issue for men, right? This particular thing I'm about to say. And you know what I'm going to say, Dredd. You know exactly what I'm going to say, right? But every time it gets snowy or icy, people start saying things like, well, the Flycatcher is closed. We're closing the workout today.
Close it.
And like every time I go, a man can only close something he owns. If you're God, go ahead and close outside. Otherwise, shut up.
Right.
And I don't say it quite like that, but essentially, and a lot of guys get really mad. Well, what about safety? And I say, if you write in this Slack one more time, this is why I've texted this to people, right? If you write in that Slack one more time that you are designating as pick your authoritative title, that you are designating this place, this AO as closed, like, believe me, I'm gonna show up and I'm taking pictures,
You kind of got to do that, and I feel the same way about safety that I feel about happiness.
Yeah.
I want you to be as safe as you feel like you need to be.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have any role in that.
Yeah.
Other than, I'll give you a little rub or whatever. But look, if you think that it's unsafe for you to drive, don't drive.
Yeah.
Don't drive. If you want to say, I think it's unsafe for me to drive, so I'm not, do. But once you say, I don't think anyone else should drive, that's when I'm going to say, I'm going to have to stop you there, man. If you're going to tell me how to live my life,
Well, it's even one step. It's not, I don't think guys should. It's, I am designating this, and you cannot.
Well, that's beyond what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like this.
I'm with you on you're going to mandate. I'm even going back a step back.
I see. I see. What you're saying. Yeah. Keep going.
I like.
Yep.
Yeah. You know.
Don't even.
If
I
you
don't
want to
know.
say.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know. I have a set of philosophy of virtuous leadership. Obviously, what I think it is. But I don't think you can look at that Q source and see where I say you're going to do it this way.
No.
If you don't do it this way, you're wrong. You know, I don't think you can. I think it's more like, this is the way I do it. This is what I believe is right.
Yeah. Here are things I might recommend. These are things I know work. Yeah.
GYA, govern yourself accordingly. And be as happy as you feel like you need to be. If this makes you unhappy, you make your choice. But as soon as you try to compel me to chase down your happiness your way, I have no choice but to say no. I have to say no. Have to.
And that brings me to the question I was going to ask you before, which was, have you said it that way before? Because I don't remember if you've said it that way in those exact words. Hold on, where you said not only is it not right, I don't have the right.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I've ever written that, but I've said that.
Okay, I was just saying, I don't ever remember hearing it in those words, and I think that's really compelling to me because I certainly think it's not right.
No,
but I had not previously considered that if I truly believe what it is that I say I believe, then I don't have the right to do so.
Right.
It's out of my control because I have said to God, hey, I won't do this in my submission to you. I won't do this. So I forego my right. That's interesting. Yeah.
So you could almost look at it like when you look at the Declaration, it says, man is created with certain inalienable rights. Rights, live life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. They really mean joy, right? Life, liberty, pursuit of joy. Those are positive rights or affirmative rights, whatever. And we are not born with the right to abdicate agency. We're not born with that. We are, in fact, what goes along with the rights of liberty, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, is the duty and obligation to protect the life and liberty and happiness of others. It's implied and unspoken. It's implied and unspoken because it shouldn't have to be said. If I proclaim the right to live my life the way that I want to live it within the law, then I also have the duty and obligation to protect another man's right as well.
Yeah.
I don't have the right to abdicate that. I don't have the right to abdicate for my family, for my community, for my nation. I don't have that right. And that to me is the huge transgression that I see. I don't really see men intruding into other people's lives, and not most of it, obviously
on our day-to-day, like in a direct sense. No.
Right. No. Right. Yeah. What I see is men abdicating their duty. Abdicating their duty
fallout from that
through sad clown syndrome.
Yeah.
Saying like, I'm just not willing to, I am now going to ride in the passenger seat of a Subaru for the rest of my freaking life.
Yeah.
That kind of soft, pudgy, beta male passenger seat of a Subaru kind of guy who just has said, I've been beaten down by this idea of toxic masculinity or masculine. I'm going to join the other side. Maybe I'll declare myself a woman, which is something a lot of guys do.
Yeah, now we've gone.
Or maybe I'll just say something in between, which is a pansexual spokes thing. I'm no longer a man in full.
I'm a feminist. I'm a
that's
male
part
feminist.
Of what they would say.
Yeah.
But they just, I am no longer an advocate for courageous love, which is my definition of masculinity. I'm no longer an advocate of that. I am now something in between, something that I'm a pansexual child.
And
that is That is what.
Whether they would say that out loud or not, but
no, they're not going to say I am. They're going to act
Right,
like a pansexual child.
but that
right?
and that I think is the beauty of F3 and why we continue to grow at an exponential rate, because we are tearing open and pulling wide, right, and exposing this cancer, the infection that there is. And when guys see it, some go, yeah, that's a bridge too far. I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Happy wife, happy life, or whatever, I know people get upset when I say that too. Right. But I think that is the attraction, because men go, hey, wait, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be like this. And I think some guys elect on purpose, right? But Geddy Lee, when they choose not to decide, they still have made the choice, and they have just lost hope.
Still not Geddy Lee.
Still not Geddy Lee.
Geddy Lee adjacent. It's fair. Okay.
Geddy Lee adjacent.
It's
Geddy Lee
interesting to
adjacent.
me, right? Because I think there was abdicating agency was something that was happening before the pandemic, and then we've seen it. We saw it go so far in the pandemic that I feel like, I know at least for us locally, the pandemic, if F3 was a business, it's not, but like the pandemic was really good for our business, right? Because we just saw all these guys coming to F3 because they wanted this place that we've created to have these conversations and really, teach men to be men. And when it's raining, here, we have guys too that are like, oh, are we going to close or whatever? And I'm like, no, here I am.
It's
Rock me like a hurricane.
nonsensical.
That's
Did you catch that?
I felt like he was.
I saw him headed that way,
and I felt like he was gearing up.
Yeah.
Not Geddy Lee.
I do think so. My question, and I love having the backstory on this, and I think this makes sense to me now, because the first article in the Zebra Jockey series is Chaos, that talks a lot about just our existence. And so as we're going through this, I think maybe our next episode we can dive into that, because I think, you reference, we don't call dogs dog beings, right? And there's some really good stuff in there.
There's something about a human being, right?
Yeah.
That's
so
different.
Just to kind of center on really the central point, why we are different in our existence and how that impacts.
And I think that because I used to read this to my kids during the and I did, like I would read at the dinner table and be like, hey, get this. This is what Dredd wrote this week or today or whatever it was, right? And I would read them the thing. And my especially oldest was always like, that's so dead on, Dad. Because I was thinking to myself, I got to teach these kids, right? Anyway, so I think that's part of what spawned later on middle saying, because somebody, people talk about their fur babies.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, Dad, we don't say skin babies.
That would just be weird, right?
And I was it's a good point, honey. Yeah. She's like, because she was so annoyed. She was like, if a man says he has a fur baby, she's like, I'm not going to date that guy. And I was like, you're darn right.
Good idea. Well, you reference Snoop Dogg in there too. And hopefully most guys know why Snoop Dogg carries an umbrella, right? It's faux drizzle.
Cut it. We're out of here. And we're out.
And we're out. And we're out. Let's start doing that. And we're out.
On our hands, hope in our chest. We're not defined by the weight of the test. Brothers in step, we carry the flame. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. Every man's got a story to tell. From the valley low to the mountaintop, yeah. Every man's got a story inside. Standing strong, we won't hide. Every man, yeah. Every man's got a story. We've been broken, we've been bruised, but we rise again and we don't get to choose. Through the fire, through the fight, every man's story burns in the night. Scars on our hands, hope in our chest. We're not defined by the weight of the test. Brothers in step, we carry the flame. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. On a story to tell, from the valley low to the mountaintop, yell. Every Every man's got a story inside, different roads, but the heart beats the same. Every man's got a story to tell, from the valley low to the mountaintop hill. Every man's got a story inside, standing strong, we won't hide. Every man, yeah, every man's got a story. Every man's got a story. Voices rise like thunder, they roll. Truth in the pain, it's shaping the soul. Chains may rattle, but they break in time. Every man's story is yours and mine. From the struggle to the glory, every man's got a story. In the dark or in the light, we keep marching through the night. Every man's got a story inside. Every man's got a story to tell. From the valley low to the mountaintop hill.